Good afternoon. Can I have your attention, please? We're going to go ahead and get started here. We are short on time, so we want to make sure that we have as much time and honor and respect your time today with us. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mayor Woodward. She'll have a quick presentation, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is an incredible turnout to talk about some very important things here today. I do want to set a couple ground rules first. This is slated for an hour. We'd like to keep it at an hour. So if you want to speak, you are asked to sign in on the sign-in sheet. It looks like we have about 20 or so people who want to speak. That's fine. If you change your mind during the course of this discussion, you can go back over to the table and sign in. And then we're asking people to speak for 2 minutes only, and we'll keep track of the time so that we can accommodate as many people as possible. I also ask you to be respectful of one another. This is a conversation that I think is really important to this community, and we need to be mindful of the way we behave. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. So let's start off with a quick presentation. I want to talk about a few things, just discuss the ground rules. Kind of want to talk about the background of how we came up with our cooling center plan that we executed last week. Also talk about the proposed ordinance changes that the City Council is considering. We just got the very latest rendition of it yesterday, and Council, as far as I know, is planning on voting on this on Monday. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to have experts who do the work inform the legislation. I did have a meeting with our council president, Breeden Beggs, and had asked, this is legislation that's going through council very, very quickly. Can we engage experts in the field and our community on this? I think initially the council president was okay with that, but then determined that council will set the policy and that engagement process will happen when we execute this plan. But I still believe that this community needs to have a say in what the council intends to do on Monday. So that's why we're here today. And then we'll also look at the ordinance and some of the implications of the ordinance, and then give you a chance to comment. So the plan that we executed last weekend for the cooling center was based on our Safer Air Center that we had in September of last year during the wildfire smoke. That was the first time we've ever stood up a center like that, and we learned a lot from it. We learned that you have to be flexible, that you need to create space that is welcoming to individuals who are housed or unhoused. And then we wanted to really focus on being flexible and scalable as well. So that top right picture you see is of the convention center. That Safer Air Center was stood up in September for a week. It operated 24 hours. We saw about 2 to 6 dozen people a day use it. The picture you see is an overnight when we had 30 individuals sleeping there. It was staffed by city. Lessons learned was that we needed to establish large space for the cooling center plan that we executed last week. We knew that we needed a central location. Convention center was centrally located. The reason we were able to use a convention center is because obviously during COVID there were no events. It was available public space. So for the cooling centers we wanted available public space. And so we identified the Louvre Carousel, and we identified this ice ribbon, and also the pavilion. We wanted something that was accessible, that everyone knew where it was, and was centrally located. And we could bring on additional facilities as we needed it, based on what we believed would be the usage. Just to give you an idea, we had planned for 500 spaces. The day before the 100-degree record temperatures kicked in, the governor decided to lift the COVID regulations, and we were able to provide double that amount of space. So we were able to provide 1,000 spaces. That also includes the libraries. So we knew we wanted something centrally located, but we also wanted to be in the neighborhoods. And so we worked with the library system, and we had libraries in every neighborhoods who opened up cooling centers. And because, again, of the governor lifting the COVID restrictions, we were able to offer more space there. So meeting the demand, we were able to communicate this. We worked with libraries, with parks, with the park rangers, with our city staff. I think they came up with a really good plan. We announced that plan on June 24th, and we opened on June 26th. The next day was when the governor lifted his COVID regulations, and we were able to double our space. That cooling center plan, a network of cooling centers operated through July 4th. And I want to share some of the numbers that we saw with you during that week. A total of 731 sheltered and unsheltered people used the carousel. We never saw more than 33 people at a time use the multipurpose room in the carousel. And that was on July 3rd between the hours of 2 and 3 p.m. The majority of people who sought out relief at the Louvre Carousel was some unsheltered. It was people who were visiting the park. It was some elderly people and tourists who were from out of town. And we provided water, restrooms, ability to fill up water bottles, and just, for the most part, people were popping in and popping out. And we used that multi-purpose room could seat 72 people, and then we were going to bring on the ice ribbon if we needed more, and the pavilion if we needed more than that. We never had to do that. We did use the ice ribbon once when the air conditioning went out in the carousel. And so we transported people over to the ice ribbon and then back. In the neighborhoods, the library says that the system, so we had libraries open in the Indian Trail, East Side, Hilliard, South Hill, Northtown, and STA. And Andrew Chance, our library director, basically said we never saw an uptick in the number of people seeking libraries as a cooling center. However, they did see people stay longer because when the COVID restrictions were lifted, people could stay longer than the 30-minute time limit that we had had there before. So that was our cooling center plan. It ended on July 4th, and basically we had city staff and park rangers fulfill the operations there. The city council halfway through the heat wave decided that there needed to be a better plan. And so they came up with an ordinance that I hope most of you have had a chance to see. If you haven't, we will go over some of the major points of it. So warming centers. Their new plan involves sheltering during the warming season, during the summer for cooling centers, and then when the wildfire smoke typically arrives August, September in our area for safer air centers. So when it comes to warming centers, the ordinance says that we're required to provide sufficient space to meet the sheltering needs of the currently unsheltered homeless in Spokane, and then operate at a minimum during the hours that temperatures are lower than 32 degrees. When it comes to cooling centers, reduces the activation criteria right now. The city's ordinance requires us to have a cooling center if there's 3 days of 100-degree temperatures. That will change to 2 days at 95 degrees temperature. And require enough space, not just for those who are currently unsheltered, but individuals who are seeking cooling shelters who do not have air conditioning throughout the city. And then for the safer air centers, the ordinance would require sufficient space for currently unsheltered homeless individuals who need a safer air center throughout the city. Other major ordinance points that I'm pointing out so that we can have a discussion, and I'd like to get your comment on them, is shall continuously maintain contracts and or appropriate non-monetary agreements that are scalable to meet emergency warming, cooling, and safe air center provider services with no lapse in coverage at any time. And then also no later than September 30th of each year that the city shall publish and disseminate a plan for emergency warming, cooling, and safe air centers for the coming year. And that's also includes detailing the names, the locations, the service providers, the funding, the activation criteria. That will happen every fall. Other considerations I think that we need to talk about here is the impact to regional partnerships that we worked really hard this last year plus to create, and what implication that is going to have on those regional partnerships. This ordinance is very city-centric, and we've been trying to work with our regional partners, because I've always firmly believed homelessness is not just a city issue, it's a regional issue. We need to be working with our regional partners, but this definitely is a city-centric ordinance. Also, the impact of the bridge housing funding. We, as many of you know, we're going to bring on a new shelter program in the fall. Our new shelter, the Way Out shelter on Mission Street, that's operated by the Salvation Army, has closed that shelter June 30th for 4 months of renovations. We'll reopen this fall to be a bridge housing model where people who have been identified by caseworkers who want to take the next step to move out of homelessness, where they can go and be stabilized for 30, 60, 90 days. We cannot operate that shelter according to this ordinance until we're able to have 20% open capacity beds throughout the system. So just to give you an idea of what that would cost the city, we have about 1,000 beds in the shelter system right now. Department of Commerce says each bed's about $56. If we're required to keep 200 beds open that are never used year-round at $56 a bed, 200 a day, 365 days a year, that's about $4 million that the city will be spending on beds that we never use. But I want to be able to have Salvation Army, Major Ken Perrine is here, to operate that bridge housing program and not let this ordinance jeopardize that so that we can open that program in the fall. What we've been doing currently is trying to do a better job of maximizing utilization of the beds in the system right now. So instead of adding more and more beds where people aren't being moved out of homelessness or aren't bettering their lives, we're trying to move people through a system that we have already and provide more capacity that way. Move people in, move people out. That's how we want to do it. I think this is going to jeopardize that. Other considerations, as I mentioned, cost to keep the capacity open. Data, I think it's been really hard for us to have qualified data for how many unsheltered individuals there are in the region. I mean, our last COVID count, we weren't able to count the unsheltered, we were only able to count the sheltered. And then the cost and the liability. If we do not meet the intent of this ordinance, the city is being set up for a liability issue. So that's the presentation. I don't want to take any more time on the presentation. I want to hear from all of you. So we have a list of people who had signed up, and Brandy Cody is going to call on each individual. You'll have 2 minutes. Love to hear this. I want this to be discussion. I want the people here to inform the legislation.
Chad Wendell.
Thank you. All right. A couple headlines in the paper this morning. Drug overdoses increased during the pandemic. That's one. Sleeping man beat. We hate seeing kind of headlines. When we politicize an important issue like homelessness, we're going to get more headlines like we saw in the paper today. This is not good for the homeless. It's not good for us residents. It's not good for small businesses, for nonprofits that I represent, or tourists. This ordinance is full of politics and agendas that will continue to generate more headlines. I feel this ordinance is a way to move the field goalpost to get to sit in line, to enforce sit in line. 6 months ago, a commercial property group that now consists of about 500 members got together and wanted to educate ourselves with what's going on the ground. We toured 8 shelters, met countless service providers, conducted police department ride-alongs, met with countless homeless individuals, and researched best practices from other communities. And some of the lessons we learned from that are that when we treat homelessness as the root problem and not as the symptom, that like a doctor continue to overprescribe medication. If we build more shelters, we're going to see more coming. If we can't measure it, we can't manage it. This goes back to one of the items here. We have to have accountability, which will allow us to measure our return on investment. Homelessness is a symptom, and one of the big things, the root cause is drug and alcohol addiction, and the majority of the times mental health and drug and alcohol addiction that we learned are related. And this is not at all mentioned in that ordinance, which I think is a big glaring piece that needs to be addressed. And I know the drug dealers have increased as we see them downtown and more drugs on the street. As we look at the visible homeless, the chronically homeless, I have learned from several of them that they're shelter resistant. And so what I would hope that you would do is move the shelters out of the downtown area and hold it accountable. But I do think this ordinance is a way to move the bill goalpost to get this like we have to enforce.
Kirsten, can you make sure to hold the mic a little closer?
I will.
Talk to the audience.
All right. We will go to Maurice Smith.
I'm going to pass.
Pass. Okay. Andrew Rolls.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. I'm Andrew Rawls. I'm on staff of the Downtown Sylvan Partnership. Just a brief observation that there are obviously unsheltered people who are from communities across the region. Homelessness is not a city of Spokane only problem. And those who arrive at the circumstance of being unsheltered, if they arrive at that when they're not from Spokane, elected officials from other communities in this region, and program managers that are there to provide services in their communities that homeless people come from, their first thought shouldn't be to simply move them into downtown. My understanding is that HUD considers best practice to be to not concentrate, not super concentrate services, and that's exactly what we have now. It affects, massively affects businesses in the area, it affects properties, good use of property, and the model that we have should account for that. Thank you for your time.
Stephanie Dam. Is that Stephanie? Amanda Carroll.
Hello? Hi, good afternoon. Okay, with everything said today, shown, talked about, I just have to start with, I used to be homeless. I moved from a different city to here, and because of a shelter, because of people caring, I got out of homelessness. I even got off of drugs, because drugs can be an issue. But because the shelter was in place and because people cared, I now have almost 8 months clean, and I have a job where I work with people. I work with people experiencing mental problems and homelessness and the drugs, and I help them and I counsel them, and I am there every day that I can, and I am myself am getting my license to be able to help people, because if we don't have more people that care, then it's going to be more deaths, because even 32-degree weather, it's cold at 50-degree weather in the winter. Okay, 95-degree weather, it's hot at 90. Yeah, right now we go with 100, and when we get to 95, it feels good. But when we're not used to that, it's still, the summer months are just as bad as the winter months. And if we don't have something to help everybody, you're going to see more deaths every day, every day, than you will anything else. No matter what it affects, as long as we can work together, then it will be able to happen. And I know it can, because I'm part of that. And if I didn't have people that believed in me and cared in me, then I would not be standing here today. So thank you.
Major Ken Perrine.
Thank you. Again, Major Ken Perrine. We run we've been in Spokane for 130 years, and we've been working with folks in crisis for a very long time. I think we have a good proven track record for helping people exit their crisis situation and become productive citizens of our great community. The Way Out Shelters funding could be jeopardized by this ordinance, so we're very concerned about that. I think in the past, since we opened on August 13th and then finished this month, we had over 98 guests actually exited homeless into regular housing. We had 50 that became employed. We had 23 that wound up getting their lease for the first time. We had 15 seniors that had the funds to be in housing, to be we worked with them so they can get into regular housing. So I think our program is I'm concerned about this because low barrier and no barrier is not defined here. And we don't believe that asking somebody to help move forward in their life to exit homelessness is that much of a barrier. That, I believe, as citizens of Spokane, the conversation needs to change to say, hey, we love you enough that we as a community don't want you living outside. And so with that in mind, we need to have a plan, and some things that I find that are missing from this plan are very important. Because there is the issue of the hardened homeless, that they won't change until the pain of changing is less than staying the same. And so there needs to be a plan for dealing with the segment of the population, of the homeless population, that doesn't want to be sheltered. That needs to be dealt with. We need some statements about the goal of helping our homeless population actually become employed and participating members of our community. We, as a Salvation Army, we think everybody has value, and they're only a few steps away from being very important. I love, Amanda, your testimony. Wow. Thank you for that.
And I apologize, that's 2 minutes.
Thanks.
Thanks. Spike Cunningham?
Yes, my name is Spike Cunningham. I'm a dinosaur in the room. I've been working downtown Spokane since 1977 in subsidized housing with Catholic Charities and Goodell and Marbury. In my career, I helped people get out of substandard housing into good, safe, subsidized housing. Presently, I'm a representative of St. Anne's Sunday Lunch, and I have an invitation, like all of you, to come join us. This program has been going since 1983. Every Sunday, we serve a hot meal. Originally, there were 3 churches. It has grown to 8. We serve on a rotating basis. But with the pandemic, the number of groups serving are down to 5. But more than that, our numbers of guests are down dramatically. We used to serve anywhere from 125 to 100 at the end of the month, and maybe 20, 30 at the first of the month. Now we're serving about 25 every Sunday due to the pandemic, due to other resources, but also the sweeping beautification of the city has swept people out of the core, and tearing down 1,000 homes for the path of the freeway has eliminated good, solid, affordable housing. We're hoping to increase our numbers, and I just heard today that the food bank is going to start a new program of advertising to encourage more people to come to food centers, because numbers in other kitchens are down as well.
That's 2 minutes. Matt Jensen.
I can't touch, yeah, sorry. Hi, Matt Jensen with Davenport Hotels. I don't see a lot of hospitality people here, but I'm happy to speak just briefly on, the pandemic, the impact that had on our industry. I think a lot of the restaurants, hotels were almost devastated by what happened. And then to finally have our state reopened and to come back to a city that has been somewhat overtaken by homelessness. And I think that resistance for shelter is really the prominent core issue with a lot of our hotels downtown, is just people kind of doing whatever they want, and there's no consequences. So I would just ask the city council to really keep an open mind to businesses downtown. Homelessness is having a tremendous impact on tourism. If you can imagine being a tourist coming to Spokane and being accosted by people just on the sidewalk. as you're staying in one of our hotels downtown, it doesn't make for a great experience. And so we're not sure what the answer is. We're glad there's a conversation around this. As a company, we're here to help and support in any way we can. But we're also at a point where we have to start seeing some change because it's having a huge impact on our business. And the new ordinance, just briefly reading through it, I don't know all the details to it, but I know there's some big buildings that impact our business, and that's the convention center and the arena and now the sportsplex and some of these other areas. And if those have to be used for warming centers or cooling centers, I know that can have a huge impact on our business and allowing conventions to come to town and people to enjoy our beautiful, amazing city. So I would just ask that you keep that in mind as well, that those have huge implications on businesses, especially in the hospitality industry. So, thank you.
2 minutes. Ken Crary. Ken?
Thank you. I'd like to speak about the 200 extra beds that the city's proposal we do away with. I know for a fact, for being out there working 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day, working with our homeless population, that those 200 beds are needed. The police, I don't know how much taxpayers' money spent on the escorts for the cleanup crews, where it takes at least 2 officers and the cars to go with the cleanup crews to sweep away the people from the downtown area to the outskirts and to chase them around all day long. Is what I know is one life lost, you can't get it back. You know, everything else in life you can get back. A life you can't. So just one life lost. Is it worth $4 million to save that one life? Absolutely. That's all I've got.
Phil Altmeyer.
So 35 years working with the homeless in our city, a compassionate city that supports what we do. When I think of ending homelessness, I think for the last 5 years, 200 people plus every year have gotten jobs and moved out of homelessness. We're not talking just about a house, a place to live, but productive members of society. It takes a safe, clean, healthy environment. We use this term homelessness, but what we're dealing with, folks, is addiction. You talk about the amount of money the city spends cleaning up our streets. We have so many people that I don't care how many shelter beds you add, they are shelter resistant. They're not interested in coming into a shelter. And if you want to follow the policies of Seattle, Portland, and be a compassionate city that says it's all about more shelters, more beds, more money, you will see what you see in Seattle and Portland. More people on the streets, not in the shelters. It's time that we address and help. I don't understand a system that continues to reward behavior that is not appropriate. We need to start rewarding and helping the people that want help. All I know is I can't change anyone in this room. I can't help anyone that's homeless that doesn't want help. And we keep thinking that we build these shelters, they want it, they'll come in. They don't want it. All we can do is help those that want help, provide a safe, clean, healthy environment. And so when you look at these numbers, Nadine, you talked about the cost of having to have 200 empty beds every night just to meet a need. If we start counting those that are shelter resistant in our homeless count and label them as homeless, you're going to need more than 200 extra beds. It's nonstop. And there's a root issue that needs to be dealt with. I hate to think of homeless people as like morning glory. But you can yank morning glory out, but if the root stays in the ground, just a little piece of it, it grows back. And we have to deal with the root problems. Thank you.
Ben Stuckert.
Oh, I like holding it. Thank you. Thanks for having us here and appreciate the conversation. My name is Ben Starr and I'm the chair of the Continuum of Care Board of Directors. And we have $80 million as a city, $40 million this year and $40 million more this spring in ARP funds. And I think it's not unreasonable to set aside a little bit, because what I understand this ordinance is trying to do is take care of people when it's really cold, when it's really hot, and when there's smoke in the air. And this isn't an argument about bigger policies on homelessness. This is about what to do when the most vulnerable in our community are threatened. And I just think there's $80 million, and it'd probably cost, I don't know, $400,000 a year to come up with a plan and say, okay, the libraries that opened, the schools that opened, Catholic Charities opened 5 of their buildings, and the carousel, and that's our plan, and we're going to set aside money for it. I don't think that's unreasonable, and I checked with the COC board, and they don't think that's unreasonable. And just seems we want to have an argument about homelessness and the larger response, but this is about that one ordinance, and I think we have the money. There's $40 million of ARP funds. We haven't spent any of it. People died on the streets because of the heat. It's okay to open those up in those times.
Tim Henkel.
She's the timekeeper.
Tim Henkel. It's behind you.
Oh, he's passing.
No, he's good. All right. Nicolette Oakletree.
That's okay. If you want to stand up. Well, or I can.
I'm so short, I'm about the same height.
gonna
Oh, okay, no problem. I am very grateful that you called this discussion today. I'm also grateful to see so many advocates, service providers, city leaders, and concerned citizens ready and willing to engage in a discussion about how to make our response efforts more effective for all of our citizens. After experiencing a historic heat wave, widespread power outages, and mourning the loss of what looks to be 15 citizens who suffered heat-related illnesses resulting in their death, it's clear that this year, we were not sufficiently prepared. It's clear that something needs to change going forward. We need to get better at planning ahead, better at communicating, and better at collaborating. And after hearing some people today, better at breaking down the stigmas of homelessness. Planning ahead doesn't have to be hard. In fact, it can make all of our lives a lot easier. Winter and summer come every year. If we can plan ahead and get the Zambonis out cleaning the ice rim on time every year, we can plan ahead and get warming centers and cooling centers open before the emergency weather hits our region. Not everyone has a cell phone, not everyone has a TV, not everyone has the internet, and if they do, their power might be out and they might not be able to charge or turn on those devices. Thus, it's critical that communication of all emergency plans occur well before the emergency occurs. We also need to get better at collaborating with each other. We can't do this alone, and we can't afford to work against one another. So when police remove buckets filled with ice and bottles of water left in the park, that is not helpful. And when you, Mayor Woodward, schedule such an important discussion during a CHHS meeting, making it impossible for them to attend without violating the Open Public Meetings Act, that is not helpful. And is not in keeping with your narrative of community collaboration and Spokane solutions. It's also not responsible for us to assume that cooling centers and shelter beds going unused means that folks don't in fact need them. For example, some folks who are experiencing homelessness during this heat wave were trespassed from Riverfront Park, so they were under the impression that they were not welcomed at the carousel. And they were also traditionally not treated well in the libraries, and so they did not use those resources. Furthermore, again, a lot of these resources were listed and advertised online and on television,
2 minutes.
which assumes they have access to phones and TVs and the internet. Thank you.
Darren Watkins. Darren Watkins.
I'm going to have you stand up.
When I see closer, my notes are. Darren Watkins, I just want to talk to you with 2 hats. First, my personal hat. I was concerned after reading the headlines about not being able to offer services to people who are suffering. And I personally went down to see the Louvre Carousel on several occasions. And I never saw more than 8 or 10 people there at any time. As I left there, I saw a couple of panhandlers. I also because I talk to people all the time, especially in the last few years. And I asked them, why don't you go over where it's cold? It was 106 degrees out. And they said, don't tell us where to go there. And I said, but look, it's a cold drink and a place to shelter. And their answer was, don't you tell me what to do. And I just couldn't help but worry about the disconnect that there is between providing shelter and getting people services that they need. That's my personal hat. I'd like to put on my other hat, though, as representative of the Spokane Association of Realtors. We're very concerned about provision number 4. And let me tell you something. We talk about this housing crisis in an abstract. I want to tell you a number to watch very closely. We are at $375,000 for a median price home in the Spokane region. And every day that goes up. Every day that number goes up, your rents go up. Every day your rents go up, your cost of housing goes up. Wages are not going up. We fought side by side with the city to pass House Bill 1590 that provides a percentage of sales tax in the city of Spokane to be used for housing. It is the only source of money available to help people get into a home they can buy, to make it affordable and attainable. It's the only source. Under this provision, every penny would be wiped out to use entirely for shelter services. We fought so hard to get to where we're at. We're on the cusp of actually finding solutions. Let's not take a step back. Thank you.
2 minutes. Sherry Gongatano, and I apologize if I got that wrong. Sherry?
So I'm actually from the Spokane Valley, and I assisted the Spokane Valley in running one of their cooling shelters at one of the churches. I'm with Spokane Valley Community Advocates, and we had nobody show up. And we talked about it. My friend Becky was there as well, and we talked about it. And communication, it was brought up by Nicolette. Communication is a big thing. Elderly people don't have cable. They don't have internet. They don't have smartphones. So using, the ticker, you do it for closed schools. Use it for the shelters and make sure it's got the address and the times and whether they're pet friendly. And then when it comes to transportation, the STA offered the free rides, but a lot of the homeless and elderly, they have those 500 free minute phones. By the end of the month, they don't have enough minutes to stay on hold for 10 or 20 minutes to make a ride arrangement for one day and then have to do it the next day. So that was a big barrier for some people. And then again, the pet friendly. We were pet friendly, Spokane Valley Partners was pet friendly, but that wasn't put out. So, the elderly, they have a cat or they have a dog that's their companion. They didn't go anywhere because they didn't think they could, between transportation and communication. And then, the pet friendly thing, I have a service dog at home, so that's a big deal for me. Because if you have an ESA, you're not supposed to take them out in public. But what are you going to do for these shelters? There's got to be a way. And then where do the homeless, the unhoused, put their belongings? And why would they transport all of that stuff for 4 hours and then have to leave and go back and hope that they can get back where they were? So we need to have better planning, and we need to be thinking about the human beings that are out on the street, because that's what they are, as human beings.
Thomas Bassler. Thomas Bassler.
Thank you very much. I'm not a speaker or an activist. I don't watch the news. I was surprised about the cooling centers that I heard today. The plan that we instituted to compare it to Coeur d'Alene on June 27th, their plan was to put on a full-length Ironman on June 27th. For those of you who don't know what an Ironman is, it's where people go outside, they run a full marathon, 26 miles. After biking, 112 miles. After swimming, over 2 miles. I mean, the difference of how cities handle things should be looked at and compared. These ordinances, low barrier of entry, have been tried in other cities. It's easy to go back and look at the results. What's the results? More suffering, more death, more homeless. As the number of homeless goes up, drug overdoses go up, assaults go up. The more people you have on the street suffer. We have to stop that. Low barrier of entries make the conditions worse. This is well known. These have been going on for over a decade. That in Spokane, we're discussing this, like, oh, are low barrier of entries helpful? There's no data. All the data shows the exact opposite. Someone said, just look at Seattle. Yes, look at Seattle. Look at Portland. Look at New York. Look at LA. All these cities have done low barrier of entry. It all gets worse. This is not unknown. Anyway, I have nothing further.
Julie Garcia.
I'm sick, so I don't want to breathe on you. Low barrier beds are absolutely necessary. I understand that UGM is necessary. Barriered facilities are important. We all need all players, but you are never going to get people off the street without relationships, without outreach, without those buildings. What seems to be forgotten in the success rate, UGM has an amazing success rate. We work with them all the time. Who got them there? It's low barrier facilities that get people ready for accountability. You cannot ask for accountability for people to have a place to sleep. You can't ask for accountability for people to have something to eat. It's a human right, and it should be. And as a compassionate city, we should not have people dying on our streets, sitting in front of shelters, cooking in their cars. And if you don't think that happened, it happened in our city this week. My friend cooked in his car, sitting in front of a shelter. Unacceptable. It has to do better. We have to do better. And if that means we have to work with people who have different ideals, then that needs to happen, because low barrier is necessary. And for somebody who's out on the street every single day, 10 to 12 hours a day with these folks, we see success. We see success through these programs, but you're never going to get them inside by telling them they're going to go to jail if they don't care. That doesn't matter, because jail isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Cooking in a car outside of a shelter is the worst thing that can happen to you. So low barrier beds are absolutely necessary, or we're never going to help the population of homeless in our city.
Tom Robinson.
I think first off, I have to say there are a lot of untruths that have been spoken in this room today. If you don't understand the untruths that have been spoken here by people who pretend they are well-meaning, you've been misled. Now, I'll go on with what I was going to say. There's no place for someone to stash their things if they're going to go to a cooling center. Are they going to abandon their camp? No, they need a place. The people who have been serving the homeless for years have tried and tried to get some kind of lockers or some kind of system where people could stash their stuff during the day, and it has not happened. Okay, that needs to happen in order to go to a cooling center. Now, Nadine told me that, told us that these centers need to be accessible. Well, it's already been said that there's some question about whether they can bring their pets. Those are the only things they have left. They're not going to abandon those pets for anything. It's been said that pretending people are mobile. Old folks didn't come down to the cooling centers because no advertising on TV about mobility was done, okay? Pretending that people are able to get into cooling centers. There was nothing presented about which cooling centers are accessible to people in chairs, which cooling centers are accessible to other people with other problems. There are plenty of problems, plenty of people out there who their main reason for being homeless is their PTSD that won't let them go into the kind of shelters that we have.
Fawn Shot.
I'm Fawn Schott. I'm the CEO at Volunteers of America. We operate Hope House, the new young adult shelter, as well as Crosswalk. And I would just like to think that we're actually having this conversation. Number one, we have needed shelters for a long time. We've needed planning. We've needed a regional conversation about planning. The fact that we annually, every year for the last 5 years since I've been in this position, have created every time there's an emergency a response. I would like to get to the space where we can actually have the conversation about what is needed through an ordinance as well as resources from the city staff. And I think that that takes a lot of planning. You also have partners in the room that do this work every day that can quickly turn things and respond if we had the resources in place and we knew that we needed to respond in that way. I hope that we don't make this about an us and them, because we as a community are stronger when we rely on each other. We've done this for a long time. We know how to lift those that need us the most up, and we also know how to support our businesses, because we need all of those things. So we cannot have one if we don't have the other, and I just ask that we talked about this as a regional response and make sure that our governmental entities as a region, as a city council, as a COC, and as city staff are all coming together to maximize our resources and let our providers leverage what we already have in the room, because we can solve these problems oftentimes by saying we have resources if you just tell us what you're trying to solve. And we might need just a little bit less of your funds as a city to do it if we can leverage those.
Pia Hallenberg. Pia Hallenberg.
Okay, thank you. I can't, this is a little bit awkward. I'll just lead in. Hello there, I'm Pia Hallenberg. I'm the chair of the Riverside Neighborhood Council, and I'm here as such, and also as a downtown resident. I've lived and worked in downtown Spokane for the last 20 years, and I don't really like what I'm seeing in my streets right now. I would like to encourage you all to reframe these problems that we're talking about as public health issues and not just homeless issues. I keep trying to get that point across whenever I make a statement to a large group. I'm a big believer in coalition building, and I am not going to apologize for that, but I'm going to push this issue back to the city. It should not fall on the Davenport hotels to provide restrooms for people who can't find a restroom anywhere else. It should not fall on the library, because the library is here to lend out books and provide computer access for those who don't have it at home. It should not fall on the STA. It is a public health issue to house people in a responsible manner, and that responsibility falls on the city. I really, really hope that the mayor's office and the city council can work together on a solution that works. I'm with Dawn. There's nothing, this is not us and them. We have to build some coalitions, or this is never going to get better. So I really, really hope that you will work together and finding out how to solve these issues. I don't know how to say this, but I come home every night to somebody who's asleep and sat outside of my front door. I get up in the morning, that person is still there. Sometimes I give them a cup of coffee, sometimes I don't. I clean up human waste outside my front door almost every single day because people have no place to go. That is simply not dignified. We should do better than that, and I really hope we can figure that out. Thank you.
Catherine Corick.
Okay. My name is Catherine Corick, and I'm a private citizen. I got to take this out. I'm a private citizen and community volunteer. I work with Jules Helping Hands. I've done some work with the Salvation Army at the request of staff because of folks that have shown up there that needed help. And I got this just today, so I don't have a lot specific to this, but one of the continuing issues that I have seen in working in this area is a lack of agreement on what number of low barrier beds actually exist. The mayor talks consistently about 150 to 200, but yet when I call to try to find a bed for someone, I can't find one. Or maybe they have one bed or two beds, okay? So there have been providers that have called all around, including myself, and found maybe a total of maximum 20 to 30 beds, and here's the mayor talking about all of these beds. So there needs to be a better system of arriving at daily bed numbers that need to be real-time and published and accessible to all of those seeking to place people in them. I do agree that low-barrier beds are essential as a starting point, and we need other beds and other services to build on those. So I did a lot of work during the heat emergency. Okay, there was very little communication that the people that need those services the most actually got. There was plenty in the media for those of us that, you know, can be in the comfort of our homes and read the newspapers, access all the media, and blah, blah, blah. But the homeless folks don't have access to that. So there needs to be street-level communication, and the providers are probably in the best position to know how to make that happen, especially the folks that do outreach. Okay. Blah, blah, blah.
Dale Breeze. Dale?
Well, thank you for having this forum here. I'm Dale Brees. I'm on the COC board. And, you know, I've been around this community as a disabled man for 36 years. I represent the lived experience position on the COC board. You know, coming out of a pandemic, I would think that we all would feel vulnerable, or we did feel vulnerable, and this is a time for healing, okay? And it's really, it agitates me a little bit just because that back in 2006 is when we actually instituted the first cooling shelter and the warming shelter, I should say. And so we've been doing this and building upon a great homeless system. It's not broken. We're just fine-tuning it. And you know, we look at the behaviors of individuals that are on the streets, but we need to look at the behaviors of the people in general. I look to a book, Dr. Gabor Mate, In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. It talks about addictions overall. And, you know, we can have addictions for wealth also, okay? And maybe that could be looked at also, because there's enough wealth in this community to take care of this issue if there's the willpower to go behind it, okay? You know, a motto for the community would be wonderful also, that we take care of our citizens, we care about all. That would come from the top down, okay? One of the other things critical that I keep bringing up for David Lewis at the city is, why aren't we surveying the homeless? We ask them all these you know, questions for the data points to get into entry. Those are personal questions. Those are talking about DV, mental health, chemical dependency. Everybody in here is a human and has those issues. But only we ask of the poor to answer these questions. Can we ask that of the rich if they want tax abatements and such? Because that is not equitable overall, okay? You know, and about the increase
2 minutes?
of numbers. Okay.
That's 2 minutes, sorry.
Apologies.
Let's see here. Jack Archer. Jack Archer.
Hi, my name is Jack Archer. I live in Spokane. I've lived downtown and on Lower South Hill. and I'm with Spokane Community Against Racism, but going to speak primarily from my own personal perspective. It seems like first I want to say thanks for this conversation. I do want to acknowledge, I'm glad this is happening. It seems that there are two conversations happening. One is about emergencies, right? Just the straight up problem of, look, the temperature's about to shoot sky high, and what are we going to do about that? I would like to point out that we never have this conversation about people who are housed. Should we activate emergency services or make, accommodations for people who have certain basic resources? It's only the unhoused who then have to sort of rely on everything else. During this last heat wave, my AC, like many people's AC window units, could not keep up with the heat. So once it gets above 95, it just kind of can't keep up with it. And I had the immense privilege, to be able to run off to a lake house with my infant daughter, because the temperatures in our apartment 24/7 would have been dangerous for her and, raise the chance of SIDS, and I'm a new parent, and that terrifies me. So the fact, I think it's worth noting that, if I had not just had that privilege, I would have been stuck in my apartment. I'm housed, and the heat wave scared me. So I wanted to speak to that. My flat-out position is, regardless of anything else, no one deserves to cook alive, and no one deserves to freeze to death. What happens after we get through that, we can discuss later. The second conversation is about homelessness overall, and I just wanted to speak a little bit from personal experience there too. People talk about rewarding problematic behavior, talk about people with mental illness, talk about people with addiction. I have not lived with addiction, but I have lived with mental illness. In 2013, before I moved to Spokane, I had a major depressive episode that caused me to drop out of school and stop functioning. I was unable to work, and I was a very unlikable person to be around. The only reason why that did not put me in a horrible position was because I had a fiance who then became my spouse. We moved in together, moved up to Spokane.
2 minutes. Sorry.
All right, we want to get as many people the ability to talk as possible. We have 16 people who are still signed up. I would like to extend this meeting, if you're all willing, to stick around a little bit longer. Okay.
Okay. Chris Batten.
Mayor, thank you for having this conversation. I really appreciate the good work of your staff. Welcome, Chris Patterson. Johnny Perkins, he's been great to deal with. So I appreciate, on behalf of downtown property owners and business owners and property owners in town, I appreciate you looking at it from our perspective as well and putting a plan together to help mitigate the impact. In my opinion, what we need are good neighbor agreements. Every single one of these social service agencies need to go to their neighbors, go to their neighborhoods, and come up with an agreement that they can work with. Where when we have the No Way Out shelter up on Mission, they should get together with the neighborhood and figure out, hey, what makes sense for this neighborhood, and how do we operate within this neighborhood, rather than having these organizations move into neighborhoods with no plan, no commitment. I think coming up with pilot programs after the fact, good luck. I hope it works, and I hope we get some accountability that way. My concern is we need accountability not only from the city, but from social service agencies, business owners, and the people that are impacted the most, those people that are on the street. So I appreciate you looking out for all sides of this conversation. Thank you.
Mercy Aguilar.
Thank you all for coming today. I'm very disappointed that it was so quick that we didn't really have time to gather more people. Approximately 15 lives are gone today. That's about 10,000 per life just to bury these human lives. If you would have planned better, communicated with the people of our community, they would still probably be alive. I'm really discouraged that there's so much capitalism in this room that you can't see beyond yourselves. Sir, with the Davenport, I've worked with 2 people that have worked for your business for the last 2.5 years. There's a language barrier. They've been living in their vehicle for 2.5 years working for your hotel. I think this ordinance is exactly what we need. The garbage problem bothering downtown district and throughout the metropolitan Spokane is because you guys removed garbage cans. Every time I go out, I've been working directly doing outreach with Houseless for 6 years. I'm the one out there till 3 o'clock in the morning serving hot soups, making sure they're alive, making sure their feet are warm, that they don't have to go to the emergency room. I've worked with many people in this room to make sure that happens, and it was not $1 out of your budget, ma'am. You could have opened the arena, and you could have made it, you could have had the city people in their areas go around and ask people if they needed help. People need housing right now. Quit the stigmatization and saying that everybody who is houseless is a drug addict or has addiction problems, because I know that there are more people housed in this room right now that have addiction problems than the rest of us who are trying to save these people's lives, because we know when you invest in people, they will produce so much more for our community than what you're giving them credit for. And that is a shame, and it tells me
2
more
minutes.
about yourself.
Andrea Johnson. Andrea Johnson, behind you.
Hi, my name's Andrea Johnson, and I'm homeless. I have been for 2 years now. I became homeless because, due to some. Please move that away. I
Well,
can't.
then use your outside voice, because we want everybody to hear.
Outside voice. I'm autistic. Okay. So yeah, I'm one of those hard to deal with people because sometimes I have meltdowns. Like, this is way too close for me, but I'm gonna deal with it, right? These gentlemen apparently, business by Way Out. I was in Way Out. I pick up garbage constantly. Does that mean I don't deserve a home? I'm not addicted to anything. Does that mean I don't deserve a home? Like, some of the stuff you guys say in here is ridiculous, and I hope your children never have to deal with that. Unfortunately, I have to wait another year to get any kind of subsidized housing because it's all funded through HUD. So no Catholic charities, no nothing. So I get to be homeless for another year. I'll make it through, I'm sure. Hopefully I don't die, because you guys will figure out some sort of warming, cooling shelter that I can make it to, even though I've been trespassed from every shelter besides UGM so far. Oh, and HOC, because I had a little meltdown. It happens. Thanks. Have a good day.
Tyler LeMasters. Tyler LeMasters.
I'm Tyler LeMasters, City Council candidate for the 2nd District. That's the South Hill, Downtown, Browns Addition, and Eagle Ridge. I hear a lot of compassion here today. I think everyone, no matter what you're coming here to say, is compassionate. To me, there is no compassion in failure. And it's clear, I think, to all of us, and by this turnout, that the City Council has failed to address homelessness. 110% increase in unsheltered homeless people in the last 2 years. I appreciate the effort to address immediate issues. I think that's very important. But this conversation we're having, and the reason why people are here right now, is because of a much larger issue that we're experiencing in Spokane. It's a housing issue, as Mr. Darren highlighted. We need to be much more effective with the funds that we're given. Salvation Army, UGM, they've done a great job of being effective. Catholic Charities has not. We need to decentralize the services given to us. I saw some faces there. Again, there's no compassion in failure. If we keep giving money to people who fail to help our homeless population, that is not compassion. And so we need to make this a non-political issue. And I'm sorry, Ms. Wilkerson, Councilwoman Wilkerson, we really need to get leaders in here who are going to address it differently.
Hallie Bertrand. Hallie.
It's Hallie Birchnell. It's a really different name, sorry.
Sorry.
First of all, I want to say that my thinking aligns with Ben Stuckert in that there are funds available and we need to be talking about solutions, and the solution on the table is a direct and simple solution. It's identifying at what point there's a health issue and addressing it so that we're ready to take action and not be scrambling on a regular basis. I want to address some things that have been said in the room today. So I'm the founder and executive director of Compassionate Addiction Treatment. Also having a hard time breathing, I'm so nervous. And we work with our unhoused community. I'm formerly unhoused as a teenager for 2 years. We talked about addiction here, and I think I risk saying I'm from Compassionate Addiction Treatment. People think, oh, they all need your help. They actually don't. So let me read something to you from the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty. I really am not breathing. Homelessness in America, overview of data and causes, October 2018. According to the most recent annual survey by the U.S. Conference of Mayors, major cities across the country report that the top causes of homelessness among families were 1, lack of affordable housing, 2, unemployment, 3, poverty, and 4, low wages, in that order. The same report found that the top 4 causes of homelessness among unaccompanied individuals, meaning singles, were 1, lack of affordable housing, 2, unemployment, 3, poverty, 4, mental illness and the lack of needed services, and 5, substance abuse and the lack of needed services. So with that, I would like to reframe things. Mr. Wendell, please stop messaging inappropriate and completely false data. We cannot continue to have these false conversations and hope that they end in results. So that's really all I have to say.
Barb Brock.
My name is Barb Brock, and I'd like to take a little different take. I'd like you all to think about the fact that no one ever improves in a hostile environment. And if you're a child, a parent, an employer, a teacher, an employee, you know that. So I consider a hostile environment where you have to search for a place to wash your hands, or to take a drink without buying something, or to poop and pee. I think we all have those needs, and when it's considered an illegal activity, what in the world are people supposed to do? And I'm not talking porta potties, I'm talking permanent structures that honor the dignity of being a human being and allows people to help themselves. And I think about 35 years ago when the needle exchange got started in Spokane. And some people were against this idea of giving out free needles and something like compassion and listening to people. But that program has saved so many lives and caused so many less diseases in the 35 years. And Lynn Everson, my dear friend, said that when this was presented to a judge 35 years ago, who looked at all the data, the judge said, well, that makes great, good sense. And I think if we think about these basic needs that Pia referred to, permanent structures so people aren't embarrassed, they don't feel they've lost their dignity, and they can help themselves. So to me, that's great, good sense. Thank you.
Melanie Perney. Melanie?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, I came here with things to say, but there's just been so much shameful things that people have been saying here, and it's just really disappointing to hear people care more about business and how the streets look than about human rights and people's lives. And I kind of wanted to say, what I wanted to say was, kind of in conjunction with what the lady from the Valley had to say about transportation. Like, I wasn't aware that there was free rides that week, and so if you have to call the paratransit to get a ride, that doesn't help people who don't have phones or money or like anything like that. So why can't just the regular STA buses be free in times of emergency? So everyone can get to where they need to be. And like, even if that's like someone's, like a loved one's house or to the shelters or just anywhere, even just the bus itself to ride around for a little while. It's air conditioned, it helps just a bit. Thank you.
Anne Marie Fronmover.
First, I want to thank my council person, Betsy Wilkerson, who I don't always agree with, but I do want to thank her for not making this political. I appreciate that. Then one thing I wanted to address was a gentleman started speaking by saying that he didn't think headlines showing that homeless people were being murdered in the streets of Spokane would be that helpful for tourism. The only national coverage Spokane received recently was the fact that people died here. So if you're concerned about tourism, I think compassion and caring for everyone is probably a little bit more indicative of a good city than whether or not someone is murdered on the street. Another thing I'd like to say is that I did vote for Nadine Woodward, and I voted for her. I know liberals hate me, even though I'm one of them. I voted for her because she said she loved Spokane, and I believed her. And now after she's been in her tenure for a little while, and I did see her at Homeless Connect back in 2019, I've come to question which part of Spokane she really loves. Does she love the entire city, or does she love certain segments of this city more than others? And I've been a little disappointed in that. And so I just want to say, because I don't have a whole lot of time, that when the windstorm occurred, this city, I remember I was in the library, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people chased us all out, said, you've got to go home, you've got to get on the bus, you've got to shelter in place, and everybody did. Every single high school was opened for people, regardless of their housing status. Food was made available, power was made available. All of this happened within about 12 hours of that windstorm that everybody saw coming. We only had 2 people die. I mean, that was amazing. So there is definitely a model in place
That's
for
2
how
minutes.
the city can come together, and we need to use it.
That's 2 minutes, thank you. Jim Wilson.
My name is Jim Wilson. I'm not an advocate and I'm not a speaker, but I represent a new group that's been formed, Don't Seattle My Spokane. And it's a group of people who made me be their administrator on Facebook, so they asked me to come and talk today. I think it's important to understand that we all have the same goal. And I see a lot of attacking, either politically or personally. And I think it's important for both sides to understand we want to get rid of homelessness in Spokane. And our goal should be that woman right there who is now working her way out. And I think it was you. Her, okay. That's what we want to have. That's our model. But if we base what we're doing in Spokane about failure models like Spokane and Seattle and Portland, we're going to be up a creek without a paddle. We need to change. We need to change what we're doing. We need to stop thinking the way we're thinking because it's not working. The problem's getting worse. The fact that we had 15 people die over the last week, we need to change what we're doing, not stick on the same old course. If you want to keep on getting what you're getting, you got to change what you're doing. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We need to talk not in adversarial way, but in a way to come together to solve the problem. We don't want to build edifices that continue the problem of homelessness. We want to get people out of homelessness to join society in a productive manner so they not only have their respective individuals, but their own self-respect. Stop attacking each other. We have a problem, and both sides have a way of looking at things. The guys who have businesses downtown are getting bad things that happen to us. Not all homeless people are bad, but there's a bunch of homeless
That's
people.
2 minutes. Thank you. Megan Pivy.
This is the hot corner over here.
My name's Megan Peary, and I'm here with All of Us or None. And I think that when I look around this room, I see a real misrepresentation. You can see the people that the meeting was called for to attend. And then you can see those of us that left work, found babysitters, grabbed people, showed up at the meeting, found parking. It's a shame. And it's a shame because the people that have the answers are not in this room. They're not represented the way that they should be in this room. There's a lot of business owners here. You guys, the business owners, you were maybe born into money or you got a loan. Whatever you did, you worked really hard to build the successful businesses that we have here in Spokane, that thrive in Spokane. We need to do the same thing with deciding how we can get unhoused people housed. We need to take people who were successful at getting housed and have them do the work to get the people housed. We can't require them to go to your church. We can't require them to pee in a cup to get food. We cannot do these things. Then we want to talk about costs. The money is there, right? The money's there. We're talking about how we spend it. $56 a night for a shelter bed or $156 a night for a jail bed? Guess what? We don't have transportation to a shelter, but you can call the police and take them straight to jail so you guys can build your new jail to incarcerate people that are in poverty and people of color. Am I speaking the truth here? Call more people to these meetings who are successful at doing the work instead of calling us to meetings to tell us what you're going to do to us. Stop doing it to us. Do it for us. Do it by us. Do it with us.
Ken Lee.
Hi, I'd like to center what my comments are on public health and safety. It's what drives the amendments to the law about warming centers and cooling centers and shelters. It's what drives the law about shelters. It's what drives public opinion about the threats to our health due to people's lifestyles out here, and the threats to them out here that are unhoused due to the elements. These are men and women, thousands of them in this town, that are trying to protect themselves from the elements. And we don't have a solution for them on the other end of this. We can't move them through to the housing that this gentleman accurately is describing as going out of reach for most of these people, for most people in their houses already. How this is a tough housing market. We don't have a solution. Instead, we attack them with criminal citations and getting forced into programming that won't get them housing. We don't have the solution to the problem now. I'm not sure that we will get a solution to that problem now, but we can stop attacking them. Things in the interest of public health and safety. Going to the bathroom. Right now, the Davenport is the only publicly accessible and well-maintained toilet downtown, 24/7, in the lobby of the historic Davenport. It's the only one we have, 24/7. We need publicly accessible toilets and hand washing stations for everyone. I'm not talking about buildings that cost a lot of money. Porta-johns will do to ameliorate the immediate health issue. That's a big problem. We need, it needs to be okay for
That's
people
2
to live
minutes.
somewhere.
Barb Comito.
My name's Barb Comito. I work for the Union Gospel Mission. I just want to say that I think it's a mistake to categorize this discussion as compassionate versus not compassionate. So part of my job, I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications, is to bring in money, right, to run the shelter, the 4 shelters that we have. And people who are wealthy give generously because they care about absolute strangers, people they do not know, and they want to see those people housed and fed. So I don't think we want to frame this discussion as compassionate versus non-compassionate. People who are wealthy can be very much compassionate. The most concerning thing I heard today was when the mayor was speaking, and he said that this ordinance would jeopardize the funding for the bridge shelter. So we have a tendency to put all our resources, we all know there are limited resources, right? There are not endless resources. And we have a tendency to put all of our resources into the front end, the low barrier shelter. And the thing is, we want to have a full compass, a full spectrum of services, right? We want to take people from low barrier to clean and sober, to jobs and living productive lives, right? Independent from those services. If we put all of our resources into low barrier shelter, there isn't anything left over for the bridge shelter. And I think the bridge shelter is really important, and I'd really like to see it happen. The last thing I wanted to say is that the Union Gospel Mission Men's Shelter currently has 100 beds available. So there are available beds. No, they are not low barrier. So I appreciated what Julie Garcia had to say about it's important that we work together. So she's meeting people out on the street, and then she is helping them to get clean. And then when they're clean, they could possibly come into UGM or another shelter that operates clean and sober.
That's 2 minutes. Teresa?
My name is Teresa Simon, and when Nadine Woodward and Ben Stuckert were running for office, they were telling us how they were going to do all this stuff to help the housing, the homeless. And I thought to myself, I said, I've taken lots of low-income people over the years, but what am I actually doing to help the homeless? And since that time, I've actually housed 39 homeless people. So my answer is how are we going to get landlords to take tenants that are coming from homelessness and actually give them a home? The very first people I walked into the UGM on Trent, and I said, I'd like 5 men. And we started there, and they're like, no, not really, you wouldn't really take 5 men. I'm like, okay, but that's all I really have room for. I could probably take 6, but 5 would be good. So my answer is how are we going to get private partnership to step up to the plate and to be apathetic to all of the things that happened? Did all of the 39 survive? No, not all of the 39 survived, but I can tell you that I'm seriously disappointed in Ben Stuckert and Nadine Woodward's movie that they put on YouTube, and I think you all should go look at that. I don't mean to pick on them, but we have sweeps going on. We're cleaning out people's survival tactics. Can you lower that just a little bit? We need to stop the sweeps. We need to create charging stations. We need to create charging stations so these people can actually charge their equipment so that their batteries aren't running dead, so that they can get on these buses or paratransit to get to safety. I think that we actually need to look at funding Jules again. You didn't manage to run a valid investigation that found anything, and I think she's doing an awesome job in the community. She's very hands-on, and I actually think that was contract theft. I think that the intent was to steal her contract, and you did that.
That's 2 minutes. Billy Quakes. Okay. Is that you?
Hi, my name is Riley, and I represent Quacks. We're a queer union addressing community kindness. And so we just wanted to talk today about some of the things we've seen. We run a text line right now to address the sweeps. People text us when there's a sweep going on. We have a couple questions. I have that information if you would like. What we've noticed that the increase of sweeps is going to cost a lot of money, and apparently the issue getting those low barrier shelters or affordable housing is money. How does paying police and city cleaning crews make more sense than just putting that towards housing, because you're taking away their IDs, you're taking away their phones and their social security cards. When I worked for the homeless individuals in our community, that was the hardest part of them being in a shelter. Wouldn't you leave after 4 months and all you got was an ID? I'd leave. That's a waste of my time. So no one knows 311, by the way, to call to get your stuff back from City Hall. I've asked every single person. I had one person tell me they were told in like 2018 about it. The next one is heat-related sickness is not just in summertime, we know that. And about the shelters, people aren't going to them because they're not being treated like people. I go out constantly with my friends. We do all sorts of stuff by ourselves. We fund it ourselves. Every person I've talked to has been interested in jobs. They've been interested in housing. We've gotten them IDs and phones. None of us have like big jobs. We're mostly students and we're doing this on our own. So we're gonna need some of that money. And the Davenport, I just wanna address, you may be the only clean bathroom for men and women who are homeless, but I'd like to learn more about your treatment of trans women who've accessed your... Thank you. Oh wait, I have content, tons of it for everybody, and go just on Instagram or Facebook. We don't use Facebook that much, but go ahead.
I think that's everybody, right, that's signed up? Well, thank you for coming. Really appreciate the conversation and for staying longer and for being respectful of one another. Unfortunately, this did overlap with the CHHS board meeting. Did not know that. I understand that they don't typically meet in July. And so we're going to see if we can get another meeting. Talk to Council President Beggs to see if we can get another meeting to involve them and hear from them as well. So thank you for coming. Much appreciated.